welcome to Finextra. I'm Emily Haller and I'm here with Paul Thomalla of ACI Worldwide. And we're at EBA Day 2016 in Milan. Thank you for joining me, Paul.
Thank you, Emily.
So Paul, how would you describe the Internet of Things?
I think by now just about everyone's used to the Internet and how that works. And the Internet is essentially a set of websites around the world, whether they're doing e-commerce or for information or whatever. But we're kind of used to that process. But they're websites, really. The Internet of Things is using the Internet side to mean interconnected devices. The things being a device, whether it's a sensor, whether it's a car, but it's a smart thing that knows something's happening. And it's how all those things are linked together and are talking to each other. That's what the Internet of Things is about.
So can you give me an example of how it's currently working?
Well, right now, for instance, there is smart homes. So people are using the example of, say, fridges. You go to the fridge and you take some orange juice out. Well, the fridge is now smart enough to know that you took orange juice out and you probably want some more and goes and reords it. So a simple example, but that type of connected home is starting to become a big deal. But the other side of it is to take it perhaps at a next level, a more grandiose level, and get to a smart city. In that sense, imagine it's late at night, it's dark, and you're walking down the street, you want the lights on. But the city doesn't necessarily want to waste all that energy if you're not there. So it's sensing you being there, it makes sure the lights are on so that your path can be seen. And that is another way of looking at how these things are interconnected between you and the city.
So what about financial services? What are the opportunities there?
Well, Gartner is saying roughly there is going to be about 30 billion of these things out there in the next 4 years. Well, they're going to create a whole bunch of actual transactions. I mean, some serious number, right? Probably more than all the payment transactions in a day will happen in a smart city. So it's just enormous. But how do you monetize them? Well, banks really get networks. They really get the scale. This is a huge opportunity for them to get in really at the early stages of this and see it as a money-making opportunity, which the industry needs as well. So great opportunity for the banks.
What needs to happen in the industry then for the Internet of Things to evolve?
I think there are three things, really. One is, how do the payments come down in price? Because if you're going to charge to turn a light bulb on and off, for instance, then actually it has to be a real micro payment. Well, right now we're used to relatively expensive payments compared to that level. So how do you get that kind of efficiency going at that scale? Well, I think that's an opportunity that needs to be addressed. But as I say, banks get the network. That's a huge opportunity. I think the second one to get our brains around is we're used to people making a decision to make a payment. Well, what if it's not a person anymore and it's a device? How does that work? What are the legal issues that need to go through that? So I think that's a bit of work that the legal folks need to think through. And I think the last one really is about standards. So, we're talking about standards in the payment industry, but the Internet of Things hasn't got standards yet of how the Internet of Things talks to itself, let alone how the banks interface to it. So there is a series of standards, both for the Internet of Things and how the payment industry connects that together. So I think if we can fix those three things, this is a huge opportunity, as I say, for banks to get really in front of this, and I think it'll be a huge opportunity for them and for the industry as we go to the Internet of Things.
Paul, thank you very much. Thank you for watching.